Welcome to Distance Learning with Common Sense. My name is Barbara Huth. I'm the Regional Education Program Manager for Common Sense in the DC metro area. And I have two very special guests with me today. I am so lucky to be able to work with them in Prince George's County. And so we are going to be chatting about preventing the professional summer slide. And we have a lot of great ideas and fun things to get you excited about learning throughout the summer. So Kim, do you mind starting off telling us a little bit about yourself and Prince George's?
Sure. I'm Kim Roberson. I am an instructional specialist with the technology training team in Prince George's County Public Schools. Sarah will share more about our team, but just to give you a background about our school district, we are one of the top 25 largest school districts in the United States. We have 206 schools, about 130,000 students, and almost 20,000 employees, about half of them being teachers. We are a public school system. We border Washington, D.C., so we're considered suburban. However, we do have very rural areas in our school district. So the southern end of our county tends to be very rural. And of course, we have some urban issues that large school districts might face everywhere, since of course we do border Washington, D.C., but we're considered suburban. We employ students from pre-K to grade 12. Of course, we have special programs such as autism and special needs students, as well as career and technical academy programs. So we employ high school students in those areas as well. So that's just kind of a big background about our demographics. We are largely an African American or district of color. So we have more than 80% of our students who identify as African American, Hispanic, or Asian. We have a smaller minority of students who are considered white or Caucasian students. So that gives you a little bit about our school district. Our district leader is Dr. Monica Golson, who has been in her role for the past few years. So Sarah, feel free to share more about you and our team.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Thomas, and I'm a regional tech coordinator in Prince George's County. So Kim did a great job telling you about our district and a little bit more about our team. Oh my gosh, our team is comprised of 19 educators who provide professional development support to staff, administrative staff, and leadership. And, I've been in my role for going on 6 years now. Wow, time flies. And I'm just so amazed every day at being able to work with such amazing people and such an amazing district. So very, very happy to be here.
Thank you both so much. And speaking of how large Prince George's is, you said you trained 10,000 educators throughout this time when schools were closed. So how did you tackle professional development for such a large district in that short period of time? What are some tips that you can give us, and how are you going forward with your professional development?
So here's the thing. We have 10,000 educators, and we started providing, so of course, around mid-March is when everyone kind of stopped everything and went home. We didn't know what that looked like. So for about the first 2 weeks, we were just all trying to figure it out. And we had the charge as the district's technology leaders, we had the charge to provide professional development to our teachers. It ended up being more than 70,000 by the time we ended. So realistically, we started with our sessions around April 1st. And we knew that the request from central office, curriculum and instruction, so forth and so on, was to continue learning for students as best as possible. The curriculum and instruction team identified those targeted indicators that all students needed to know, but we had to think quickly about how our students were going to connect with their teachers. So we are a Google district. We've used G Suite for Education for quite some time, but we in the state of Maryland, we don't have a requirement for technology as a certification. So our teachers had a range of experience as it relates to using Google. So we had to quickly get them up to speed with Google Classroom. So we initially hosted from home, online, with our dogs barking and the babies crying and all that good stuff, we from home provided training with for our teachers with Google Classroom. That's kind of how we started. And again, we knew that our teachers had to engage in lessons virtually. So we thought about the video conferencing platforms that might work best. We have several that we use in our district. We settled on the use of either Google Meet, which Google was gracious enough to extend to us for free through September, as well as with Zoom, because our teachers were already using Zoom anyway. So we worked really hard to make it more a secure environment for us to prevent the Zoom bombing that we know we heard everywhere. So initially, our approach was not really asking too much about what teachers needed. Unfortunately, we kind of followed the lead of the district in providing that initial support without really trying to overwhelm them. And later we advanced into more of the, well, how do I share work with students? So we started to advance more into the use of other Google tools. For example, we provided training and support around Google Slides, Google Forms for assessment. We provided training around some of the other tools that some teachers were using district-wide, like Nearpod, Peer Deck. And we tried to scaffold learning over time from, again, April 1st. Our school district, the students' last day was June 15th. So we literally provided training every week from April 1st to June 15th. So again, we about 70,000, 79,000 or so, somewhere in there, teachers attended our sessions. We ended the year with fun. So Sarah, feel free to add anything else to that experience, because I know we did district-wide training, but our trainers also were supporting teachers differently at their school level too.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there were some people on our team who were doing like virtual office hours, and I kind of borrowed that idea from them, where, you know, we set up like calendar slots, and then if people needed some more in-depth like walkthroughs or whatever, then we might have like that one-to-one session, or larger sessions where people kind of popped in all around a similar topic. So I mean, there were a lot of things that we did. I know that we also do a podcast. So, you know, we put out a podcast with some focuses on remote learning, just to kind of keep the conversation going around that. So yeah, it was definitely multi-tiered. Even on our website, then, you know, we had like ways that people could kind of go in and do like self-paced sessions or attend the virtual live sessions with Q&As, so they could pop in with their specific questions, and you know, we would walk them through it. So lots of different approaches to get to lots of different people.
That's a good point. So I think already it was dropped in chat, like our website was like that central hub that we brought everybody back to ensure that they could see the resources. And the resources are open and free for anyone to use. So feel free to take a look at our website for those resources.
I love that your website's open. I think that's awesome that you're sharing it with educators beyond Prince George's. And Sarah, you mentioned a podcast. Was that just for Prince George's educators, or is that open to other educators as well?
Yeah, it's available to the public. So it's, you know, we just kind of put it out, and, you know, people can listen. So we do it using Anchor, but I mean, you know, we have it going out to all the different podcatchers and things like that.
What's the name of it, Sarah?
That one is one-on-one with one-to-one. So, so if you look on Anchor for T3 PGCPS, then that should pull it up.
Great, thank you so much. So focusing on, you know, that there was growth and you really focus on the fun things at the end, what are some of the glows and grows from your professional learning experience this year?
So I think one thing that I think was important, as I mentioned earlier, we really in the state of Maryland don't have a requirement for technology. We all use it. We recognize that it's important for us to use and to connect, but there isn't a certification requirement or any type of amendment to a certification that requires a teacher to engage in technology. So I think the one grow I think that I've seen from our district teachers who did an awesome job, number one, of, okay, now you got to figure out how to teach online, right? So I think just to get them all using Google Classroom, we compare some of our statistics to what it looked like before distance learning and what it looks like now. And the number of teachers who never made a video before was well over half of our teachers that we surveyed. And then they started using Screencastify as a tool that they could use for recording video. They had never used Google Classroom before, and then they found that way. So I think that was a huge grow to me from our district. Sarah, feel free to add any other grows that you see or glows.
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking off of what you said, just seeing people just step up to the occasion. You know, this was something that we had to do. You know, there was no option about it. So just seeing people step up, and not only that, but also being hungry for more. Like, we would see people in our sessions, like, just keep coming back, keep asking for more resources, keep asking, how can I, you know, continue learning on my own? What certifications are available and stuff like that. So definitely got a lot of emails like that. And I mean, those just really made my day, honestly.
Now, from a professional standpoint, I'll say that, as I alluded to before, we started with kind of what teachers needed to do what curriculum instruction was asking them to do, which was to engage in online learning with either face-to-face or virtual video conferencing tools. I'll say not technically face-to-face, but in that way, and sharing work with their students, whatever that work looked like, how often they had to do it. But we wanted teachers to end the year with fun. So it was super exciting to get to the end of the year and start to think about, what are some fun things that we can encourage teachers who may not have ever used technology before to be interested in continuing to engage in learning, even personally? So some of the things that we did at the end of the year, which we thought were fun, and then of course we know that we have no idea what next year will be like for our students. We don't know if they're going to be completely face-to-face, which is probably not likely for most of us across the nation. Some of them might be at home, some of them might be back at school. So we recognize that there would be a challenge for teachers to connect with an audience that they might not get a chance to see together. We're so used to, as teachers, having those experiences where we get to know all of our students as a group and build community. So we started thinking about some things that we could use, which I see have been dropped in chat. So one of the things that was fun for us to do at the end of the year was like introduce Bitmojis in education. And a lot of our teachers had already used them. So we actually are sharing a Padlet that shows some ways that teachers were already using Bitmoji. So if you're not familiar, a Bitmoji is kind of like your animated cartoon character of what you might look like. So it's like a fun approach to you, but it can also be used in a lot of different ways in education. So we showed how it could be used either in Google Classroom as a banner, or either as a header in your form. A Bitmoji could be used for ideas to make your classroom interactive. So if there's specific resources that you want to share with your students, build a Bitmoji classroom, and then you can link your images on the background to whatever it is that you want to show them. We knew that we had teachers that were already using Bitmojis who were changing them out in their classrooms like every day to show like different ways that they were using Bitmojis. So that was like a really fun thing. And we noticed that our Twitter following started sharing because they wanted to show like how they're starting to use their Bitmojis. We have principals who were using Bitmojis in the classroom or in their work environment to be able to share different ways of working with their students. So I think that was really fun. And again, I'm hoping that it's something that, even if personally you decide to start using, I think I was introduced initially to Bitmojis on Facebook like years ago. But teachers are using them now to give feedback to students. So hopefully, even exploring it on your own for personal use, that was like a goal that we had at the end of the year, to allow teachers to like walk away with a nugget of something that they really want to try like later on. But of course, it can be used to build community as the year progressed. I'm talking a lot, so Sarah, interrupt me whenever you feel like.
No, you're saying all good things. Like I'm just over here nodding my head like, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and I love what you just said about building that culture, with your building that connection, because oftentimes it's hard to do so in a virtual setting, like especially when you start out that way. So I think that it's great that people have these tools in their back pocket. So, for the beginning of next year to help to build that relationship with their students. Yeah.
Yeah. And so another thing that we did, being a Google district, as we said earlier, we did a session toward the end of the year that was called Creating Interactive Activities Using Google. So we borrowed some of the ideas from Matt Miller's Tech Like a Pirate. It's one of his newest books. And we really were interested in creating an experience. So for those teachers who joined us for the Creating Interactive Activities session, they came into the world of Jumanji. So when they came into the world of Jumanji, we shared with them initially while they were waiting. We shared with them a way to use Google Sheets conditional formatting to build out a pixel art activity. So with that activity, if they just answer some simple questions that they could Google online, it would unveil like a Jumanji picture. So we did that, but the session also showed how you can use Google Slides to animate, to tell a story. So it was very simple to use. We introduced the use of Google Drawings. And even though social media, of course, is not something that a lot of districts have open for their students, particularly 13 and under, we know legally they're not supposed to be signing up, but we know they're making TikTok videos anyway. So we showed how they could use like a template in Google Slides to create a TikTok video, like just using GIFs. It was something very simple, but it introduced them to the use of drawings. And then of course, collaboration with a tool called Jamboard, which is Google's like whiteboard experience, but you don't really need a board for. So again, it was a very fast-paced session, and the students were gone at this point by the time we showed this to teachers, but we wanted to give them enough to think about what they could do next year. So like over the summer, once you've cleared your brain and rested and relaxed and reset, let's pick this back up and see if that's something that we really want to learn and find out more about. So that creative activities was a fun session that I got a chance to participate and plan for as well.
Yeah, so I know we shared it in the chat, but the presentation that you are willing to share that says interactive activities using Google PD, there's so many ideas in there to get excited about, teaching in this environment in the fall. And even regardless of what it looks like in the fall, this could be for in-person, but it also works really well in a distance learning environment. So I know I'm going to be going back and trying to learn all those, especially I've never heard of Jamboard, so I'm really excited to check that out as well.
Cool.
And so thinking about that, a lot of conferences, well, obviously in-person conferences are canceled this summer. And that's where a lot of times for educators, we get recharged and we get excited for the upcoming school year. So how can educators prevent their own summer slide, and what are some virtual opportunities that are available for them to prepare for the fall?
Yeah, so like you said, there are so many events and activities that are moving online, and many of them are available for free. So, so a few of them are the EdChange Global Conference, which is coming up in July. So that's one that people can really check out. It's 24 hours, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can tune in whenever and just kind of follow along. And that's such a cool experience. There's also Q is doing a global EdTech Academy sponsored by Microsoft. So there's a whole lot of sessions in there on different topics. So that one's also available for free, and just participating. then there's a global audience for that as well. So that is super, super cool. So ISTE has also been doing, through the digital equity PLN has been doing a series of webinars on Monday nights. I think that their last one's coming up this Monday, or it may have already wrapped up, but the recordings are available online. And I noticed that somebody was also chatting about their ISTE certification that they're working through. And I'll pass it over to Kim. I know that she has a couple more.
So I think the Friday Institute is also offering free PD that teachers can work through for helping to norm remote learning. And it also has to do with communicating with families and social emotional learning, which is a huge thing that we're all online. I hope that we're, as teachers, taking care of ourselves socially and emotionally as well. But that talks about what that looks like for teachers and just how to support special needs students. So the Friday Institute has that offering. And then ISTE also has like a summer learning academy. So everything that we've said so far has been free. But the ISTE Summer Learning Academy happens to be like a $20 fee, but you can get CPD or CEU credits if you need a credit for a certification or whatever in your district. So again, those links are in chat. And I can't state enough that we've worked really, really hard all year, and even more so at the last 3 months. So just really think about, and we talked about grows and glows before, but just kind of think about really what you did well and celebrate it. Take the time to really celebrate what you've done well and give yourself an opportunity to celebrate. I know for some of us, me included, it's really hard to talk about myself and think about things I did well, but do that for yourself. And then also take the time to think about what you might need to improve. There's so much that comes at you as far as PD is concerned. So you don't have to think about everything. Just think about what the one grow that you might have for the coming year, and then let that allow you to focus where your PD might go. Another tool that we introduced to our teachers toward the end of the year in a session was Wakelet. So Wakelet is, we had a session on Wakelet and Twitter, because connecting on Twitter is amazing. As Sarah knows, she built a whole company around connecting on Twitter. Shout out to EduMatch. So if you find connections on Twitter, and Sarah knows a whole lot more about it than me of who to connect to on Twitter, but like use a Wakelet community to kind of to store your things. So if you're somebody who's familiar with Pinterest, it's similar, but you can save your content. It could be PDFs, it could be links, it could be Twitter feeds. So Wakelet is a way that you can kind of curate the resources that you find, whether it's training, things like that. So Sarah, who do we connect to on Twitter?
Oh my goodness, there are so many folks that we connect to on Twitter. Hold on, let me go ahead and minimize my screen a little bit. But yeah, there are so many different people. I know that Ken Shelton, want to give a huge shout out to Ken Shelton. I see Leticia just dropped her Twitter handle. Connect with her as well. Leticia in the chat. So Ken Shelton's great to connect with. Jenny Magera. There are several people. Should I just keep going down the list?
Up to you. Connect to us on Twitter, T3 at PGCPS, T3 PGCPS. Feel free to connect with us. So
absolutely. Oh, and before we continue, I also wanted to say that that Barbara and Sue shared with me about a wonderful resource that you all have available through Common Sense, the Wide Open School.
awesome.
So there's so much great free PD available on there that they have curated, and it's a great resource. So I was very impressed when I saw it.
Okay, thank you both so much. So we're running just about at time. It goes by so fast. So do you want to share any last takeaway for our audience before we get to questions?
Sarah?
Oh, I was about to say Kim.
So let me say again, we as teachers are constantly interested in growing and learning, because that's what we're supposed to do. But take the time to rest and recharge. Clear your brain. because we don't know what is coming at us in the fall, and we're anxious and we want to get started with setting up our classrooms and figuring out what to do. But most of us, I know a few districts have started to release their plans for the fall, but a lot of us have no idea. So give yourself a chance to just rest, relax, but then focus on your glows and grows, which I've mentioned earlier, and think about, don't try to learn everything. You're never going to be able to learn everything. I've been in this job for quite a few years, and I'm learning constantly every day. So think about what your area of focus might be. If it's reaching parents, if it's working with equity, if it's social emotional learning, if it's assessment, whatever the resource is that you feel like you want to focus on, let that be your area of focus and look for resources. We've shared a ton here, but let that be the guide for you so that you don't overwhelm yourself with everything that you have going on. So I think that's my takeaway.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. That is spot on. And I'm just going to circle back to one thing that you said earlier, Kim, about that connection piece, how we are all in this together. I've heard somebody express beautifully that we might not be in the same boat, but we're in the same storm. I keep hearing that over and over. So I wish I knew who to attribute it to, but I don't, unfortunately. But since we are in the same storm together, then learning and growing from one another is just, it's so clutch right now, more than ever. And wherever you might be, if you're already connected, great, help connect some other folks. And if you're looking for a place to start, then think of where you may be already. Like if you're on Facebook, if you have a personal Facebook, there's a community of educators there. There's a community of educators on Twitter, Voxer, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, all of these different places. Wherever you may be, the community is there. So that would be all I would add.
Excellent points.
Well, thank you both so much. We have so many good resources here for us to keep learning and growing, and keep, expanding out to your PLN on Twitter or wherever you find like-minded educators to learn from. And this conversation will be posted on our Common Sense Ed YouTube channel, along with all the links and resources from our chat today. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Kim, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.